Pearl Harbor is sort of a memory. But I would do it again. At Pearl Harbor, I was second-class gunner's mate, and about 3 months later, I went to first and then to chief. They needed experienced people, and I guess I was experienced, I don't know. I'd just been married. Castor came into Pearl Harbor, that's the ship I was on, and I would say it was about 7:30 Saturday night. It was a prevailing wind that got us in there on Saturday night. Otherwise, we'd have come in on Sunday and we wouldn't have made it. But where they tied us up right by the oil tanks and the submarines, we were so vulnerable. We would have blown Pearl Harbor clear to Japan. And so I went to bed as usual, slept like a log, got up at 5 in the morning and went back on the fantail, which is the rear of the ship, sitting there drinking coffee, and this torpedo plane went right under the stern almost. I could look down and see the pilot. And then I see another one coming, and I looked over and one of the battleships just raised clear up out of the water and rolled over. What saved most of us was shrapnel coming down, and we had on what they call K-POC life jackets. They were about 2 inches thick. And then the old type helmets that come way out. And that saved us there. And we broke out the rifles, but you know, you can't, a rifle didn't do any good in those days. I even shot a .45 at them, but it didn't do any good. Nobody knew what to do. It was just do your thing, you know. If you could shoot some Japanese or down a plane or whatever, why do it. You couldn't even pick a person up out of the water because they were the oil on them. And that oil isn't like a car oil, it was real thick. I think everyone picked up a wound of one thing or another. It was the first ship back to the States. The first load we took out was the ammunition and blankets, clothing, food. We got back to Pearl with that, and it always took about 5 days to unload, and we unloaded, and my wife was frantic then. She didn't know whether I was up here or down there. So we got to send that message home. She was relieved then, and so we unloaded, and I got a message through the captain, and I said, we're heading back to San Francisco, and I want to see my wife. And he says, okay, I'll grant you permission. So we got back to San Francisco, and I told her to wait down at the terminal where the streetcars crossed over to Oakland, and she was there. So we got in a taxi cab, and she says, it must have been terrible over there. And this taxi cab driver, he had his fingers up to his ear trying to hear everything, you know. Yeah. And I says, I'll tell you all about it when we get home.